Good morning, Algebra 2 students. Well, if this week has taught me anything, as I tell you, if you fail the first time, keep trying. I've failed a lot this week. I'm sorry that some Zooms didn't work. I'm sorry that things were a little crazy. We are learning, and I'm learning just as much as you. But before we start this lesson, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about. First of all, your book is an awesome resource. Remember, beside the problems, there is a number, an example to go back and look at. Make sure that if you don't understand my directions, you go back and you look at, for that one, example number 1. It talks you through how to do that problem. Those numbers are key. The second thing that's a really good resource is the answers to the odd problems in the back of the book. We are on page R45 right now for section 4.2. All of the odd problems are there. So if you're struggling with a problem, look at the examples like it. Do an odd problem. Even if I gave you an even, do the odd one right beside it, or look at the answer, see if you can work backwards. Third step, pick up the phone and call. Say, whoops, I'm lost. Lots of you are doing that. You're doing a great job with that. Zooms this week were an epic failure for a while. Not sure exactly why things went so crazy there, but I think now I have one password that's on my landing page. The ID should be the same every day. I actually think it's set up for 5 days a week, which I'll be glad to meet with you other than Monday, Wednesday, and Friday if you need. Call me anytime. So let's go back and look at the answers. I'm going to go through the answers to the problems that you were to do for the homework rather than trying to get back with each one of you individually. First of all, the directions. Use the related graph of the equation to determine its solutions. It doesn't say the number of solutions, it says give me the solutions. So when we look at this first picture here, we have an x-intercept at 0. So you could call it 0, 0. The other one is at -1, -2, -3, -4. So the other 0 is -4, 0. So it would be -4, 0, and 0, 0. The second one has no x-intercepts because it's never going to cross the x-axis. The third one only has one x-intercept and it is at 2, 0. The fourth one only has one x-intercept and it is at -2, 0. Number 18 has no x-intercepts. It's never going to cross the x-axis. Number 19 has an x-intercept at -3, 0 and 4, 0. And a lot of you were trying to give me just the number of x-intercepts instead of what the exact x-intercepts were. That's okay, we're learning. So you got the idea of it. Remember, solving means the same thing as finding the roots, finding the zeros, finding the x-intercepts. Here's where things got a little wonky yesterday. For examples that you were doing in the second part where it's examples 2 through 4, if you could factor it, which I want you practicing your factor skills, I want you to factor it. If it doesn't factor, then you have to do the make the table thing. So let's switch gears here. I'm going to walk around and show you the workup over here. Okay. At the top here, I've got examples, numbers beside the problems. Those lime green numbers will help you. The second thing is remember the odds are in the back of the book, and we are at R45 for this section. And the next review is something would be solve means to find the zeros, the x-intercepts, and the roots. Okay? Solve. Does it factor? If so, factor and solve it. Find its zeros. Now, when you're doing that, if you get confused, go back to your worksheets that we did before we went to chapter 12. You have a lot of good resources. So here is the problem number 22. X squared minus 5x minus 14. So we know what multiplies together to give us x squared, x, and x. What do we know about our signs? That tells us they're both opposites. One's positive, one's negative, so we're looking for the factors of -14 that add up to -5. So if we factor that into x minus 7 and x plus 2, if we check it, x squared plus 2x minus 7x, that gets me my minus 5x, and then minus 14. So we have factored it correctly. So x minus 7 equals 0. Add 7 to both sides. X equals 7. X plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 from both sides. X equals negative 2. If it factors, don't take the time to find the vertex and make the table to look for sign changes. It's faster if you can factor it first. Moving on to number 23. Now we have a negative a term. Ooh, these lights are kind of funky. Sorry about this, guys. Negative x squared plus 2x plus 24. Remember, we factor out a negative 1. That changes the signs on everything to their opposites. Because negative 1 times x squared gives me negative x squared. Negative 1 times negative 2 gives me the positive 2. Negative 1 times negative 24 gives me positive 24. So now we're looking for to factor x squared minus 2x minus 24. That negative 1 has to stay up front. What multiplies together to give me x squared? X and x. What do I know about my signs? They're going to be opposites. So we're looking for the factors of negative 24 that add up to negative 2. So x squared minus 6x plus 4x gives me my minus 2x I'm looking for, and then minus 24. Now we're solving it. The negative 1 does not affect our zeros, but we still have to leave it out front as a factor. X plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 from both sides. X equals negative 4. X minus 6 equals 0. Add 6 to both sides. X equals 6. Those are my solutions. Those are my zeros. Those would be my x-intercepts. Okay, so then we went on to problem 26. Problem number 26. 2x squared minus 3x minus 15 equals 4. Remember, the first thing we have to do is bring the 4 over to the other side by subtraction. So we now have 2x squared minus 3x minus 19 equals 0. We're looking for the factors of 2x squared. What multiplies together to give me 2x squared? 2x and x. We know our signs are opposites. So there's going to be a plus and there's going to be a minus. My shiny light is right there on that problem. And the only factors of 19 are 19 and 1. I've tried it both ways. It doesn't factor. So try to factor it first. If it doesn't factor, now we need to find the vertex. Remember, A was 2, B is negative 3, C is negative 19. C is negative 19 because we had to bring that negative 4 over from the other side. The opposite of B, 3, over 2 times our A term, which is 2, gives us 3 over 4, which is 0.75. So then we do 2 times 0.75 squared minus 3 times 0.75 minus 19 equals 0. And here's all that work, which gives you, when x was 0.75, my y value of my vertex is negative 20.125. Now, had we done this in class, you would have had the use of a graphing calculator, which makes this so much easier. Sorry guys, we don't have them at home. If you have one, you're welcome to use them. Look at your tables, look for sign changes. So I took the points that I went to whole numbers, not using fractions. There's my vertex, and I went bigger, 1, 2, 3, 4. I went smaller, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and I wrote down what my values would be for my y's. And it goes positive, negative, 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 positive. I'm looking for sign changes. It went from negative to positive here, from negative 10 to 1. So I have an x-intercept between 3 and 4. Come down to here, it went from positive to negative. So there's an x-intercept between negative 3 and negative 2. This is number 26. Okay? So moving on, I know this is kind of bumpy here today. 27. 27 took a lot of time. Sorry guys, if we'd done this in a class, it would have been much easier because you would have had the calculators. Have to bring the negative 11 over to the other side by adding 11. And then we need to reorder in decreasing order. So we end up with negative 3x squared plus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Then we factor out a negative 1. That means that flips all of our signs to their opposites. 3x squared minus 2x minus 4. I tried factoring it all the different ways I could think of, and they're all there. You can see them no matter which one. And I did my checks to prove that when I tried 3x plus 2 and x minus 2, I got, for a middle term, negative 4x. I'm supposed to be getting negative 2x. And I tried factoring it 3x plus 4 and x minus 1, and that got me a middle term of positive x. Still not negative 2x. I tried 3x minus 1 and x plus 4, and that got me a 11x. So you can see my x is out here to the side. Wah, didn't work. Wah, didn't work. Wah, didn't work. Doesn't factor. Okay? So when it doesn't factor, then you got to find the vertex. A was -3, B is 2, C is 4. The opposite of B, -2 divided by 2 times your A term. -3 times 2 gives me 1/3. I think with this one it's easier to leave them as fractions. I know you hate fractions, but we are taking -3 times 1/9, which will give me -3/9, which is the same thing as -1/3, plus 2 times a third, which is 2/1, which will give me 2/3, plus 4. When I add these two things together, I get 1/3, plus 4 gives me 4 1/3. That's my vertex. So moving on, after you have your vertex, okay, then you make your table, and we're looking for sign changes. It goes from negative to positive right here, so that means there's an x-intercept between -1 and 0. There's a sign change, 4 to -4. That means there's an x-intercept between 1 and 2. Okay, so our x-intercepts will be between -1 and 0 and between 1 and 2. Then we moved on to the last 3 problems that you did in the book, and they already made the tables for you. And if you look at the first one, there's a sign change here from -1 to 4. That means there's an x-intercept between -6 and -5. There's a sign change between +4 and -1, which means there's a x-intercept between -4 and -3. Next problem, number 31. There is a sign change between +2 and -3. It goes from positive to negative, which means there's an x-intercept between 0 and 1. There's another sign change when it goes from -3 to +2, which means there's an x-intercept between 2 and 3. Number 32. There's a sign change, -1 to +3, which means there's an x-intercept between -3 and 0. There's a sign change when it goes from 3 to -1, which means there's another x-intercept between 6 and 9. Those aren't consecutive numbers, but it would be between those two numbers. I hope this helps a little bit. It's been a learning experience this week, guys. We will get through this together, I promise. Call if you need help. Call if you're frustrated and you just need to scream. Call if you just need to hear my great, wonderful voice, and I can tell you how much I miss you guys, because I really do. Okay, that's it for today. I'm going to be working on our next lesson to get it up on line soon, and if we look ahead, we are factoring. So if you want to be looking at what we're doing next, it's all review. I will spend some time making a video again reviewing the different ways of factoring. And then on Wednesday or so, we'll learn something new. We're going to get to those imaginary numbers that I've been telling you about all year long. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.